Yeah, it was interesting.
Speak into the mic, because we don't want to miss this.
Sorry, I'm Nancy Young. I'm chair of pathology. And it's interesting. I noticed the people I was observing, they were great in terms of being the confronter and the person pushing back. And it seemed obvious to me as the observer that the person pushing back probably got it, but they were trying to save face. They knew they probably didn't do the right thing. And keeping it short and sort of not continuing to belabor it is probably the best thing, because you did your job. The person, you can't beat them to the ground. They get it. Just bringing it up. You're not going to get an admission. Yeah, I was wrong. Oh, I'm terrible. So, and I realized that. I saw that, and I got that from observing it. Whereas maybe if I was in the person confronting, I'd want to,
I want you to fall on your knees and beg me to forgive you and thank me.
Yeah, and if you do this again...
Because having this conversation is hard on me.
Yeah, right. So.
Well said. But I cut you off. What else?
No, it's pretty much keeping it short.
Keep it brief. Right. If you have to repeat yourself a third time, you've lost it.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm slow, so I need to hear things twice. But a third time, that's no longer collegial, is it? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Adrienne Williams, and I'm a practice manager at Family Practice Associates at King of Prussia.
Thank you.
And my group was very good because...
this is a competition.
Well, the one person who was explaining to Pat, was very empathetic. She was very professional. She was very calm and patient because she saw the pushback, could feel that pushback, but she maintained brevity and calmness. She kept to the message, and she even offered to help. Instead of giving a solution, she just said, this is something you can consider, and I'm here to help you and be a support if you need that, and that they could work together. And at the end, the person said, thank you.
Whoa. Sometimes, in fact, much of the time that happens, but we cannot expect it or demand it.
Yes.
And that's really the difference. Think of somebody coming to you and pointing out something that maybe you would want to know. Mm-hmm. And so an appropriate response is thank you. In fact, our chief medical officer stands in front of gatherings larger than this and says, if somebody reminds you the only proper response is thank you.
Exactly.
Is that the response that's always given? No.
No.
But my favorite anecdote, two of them, was when a highly ranked physician leader did not choose to take precautions on a unit that took precautions and was leading a group of site visitors, and a nurse took him aside and said, Dr. highly ranked person, please, we need everybody to take these precautions, and objected a couple times, never did it, and so got a call from the Supreme Being, and the Supreme Being in our organization asked him to come by after the site visit and said, Dr. highly ranked person said he thought he was going to go and get a pat on the back for having done such a great site visit. And our Supreme Leader just said, got a report I don't understand. I know your commitment to our patients, and I know that you're leading a very impressive site visit, but is it true that you went through the unit without gowning and all the other precautions and took the site visitors through? And the response was the same that was given to the nurse. Well, we were just passing through, no big deal. And there was just an opportunity to just say, colleague, I know your commitment to safety and quality, reduction of infections and bad outcomes, but I'm not sure that the team on that unit or the patients and families understood that today. Well, what do you want me to do about it? I know you'll figure it out. Have a good day. So he went, it was a he, went and did a semi-public apology to the unit staff. Now, do you think that got around the hospital? Do you think the gossip mill told that story?
Absolutely.
Do you think that was one of the reasons why a nurse took off after a highly ranked nursing leader and a Joint Commission auditor who departed the unit without foaming out and brought him back to get foamed out? And do you think that there was some nervousness about doing that? Do you think there were repercussions? And do you think those repercussions were all good? You bet. The Joint Commission auditor was embarrassed. The nursing leader said, "You did the right thing, thank you." And so I'm all about data, but I'll tell you what, it's stories like that that when this stuff works can really be transformative. So thanks for those observations, really good stuff. Microphones are empty. Come on, there are some other, and I'm real comfortable with silence. The pay is the same.
So Jim, I have a question for you, and maybe you're going to get to it. We haven't dealt with the one incident that I'm sure won't happen in our organization, but in the event that it might, some of the people might be better prepared if you were to comment. What happens when somebody just outright rejects the accusation and becomes combative?
Oh, that's really good. So, are you talking about denying that it ever happened?
Correct.
Oh, that's good. So, you would come to me, and I would look at you and say, "Barry, I don't know where you got that report. I don't know what they were smoking, but I did not do that. That did not happen the way it was reported." How many of you have been engaged in what you thought would be a cup of coffee conversation and it turned into a she said, he said, she said, she said, she, and you weren't there? And maybe nobody else was. How do you handle that? Well, in the courses that we teach, that's one of the pushbacks that we put into the role plays. And very briefly, it's going to be, "Well, Jim, you know, I wasn't there. I got this report. Thought you would want to know about it. I have no idea why that impression was made, why you gave that impression. But my promise to you is that when anything is reported of this nature and it's about you, I figure you would want to know. And if it's not correct, then I'm quite confident that I'll never get a report about this again. But if I do, of course, I'll share it with you. We're both busy, and so I just hope you'll have a good day." And then they look at me and vilify me and challenge my authority, challenge my abilities as a manager or supervisor. And I'll tell them, "You know, you've raised some important issues. It's not why we got together right now. And so let's make an appointment when you can share with me some of the things that I might need to do in order to make this place safer and be the high-quality organization that I know you want it to be. Thanks for starting this conversation, but now we both got to get back to work. I want to keep the two issues separate, and so do you. This is not the time to discuss the issues you have with me. It was my chance to share an observation that was no big deal. You've turned it into one, and so we will continue the conversation, and that's okay." You want to push back?
I'm a polite guy.
I'll buy you lunch.
Good morning. My name's Dennis Kaufman. I'm from Facilities. I observed the Dr. Jim Glove conversation. First thing, it was like I noticed two people, very professional and friendly. It was the way I wanted to. If I was going to be approached, that's the way I would want to be approached. There was no retribution. All the points were met, why they thought this was done wrong, and it was allowed to finish. Then Dr. Jim came back with his reasons, and any clarifying questions, there was nothing actually asked, but they were brought up during the conversation. So there was, you know, it was very easy to do this. And there was at the end, there was a mutual appreciation of what happened. So.
And we're all on the same team, aiming for the same good
Yes.
things to happen.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's tough to remember to do all that stuff.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Randy Dembowitz Friedman. I'm a practice manager in OBGYN. I was giving a hard time. I was the person, the nurse, that did not remove the catheter. And the one thing that my peer did, that after all the arguments I gave, she just stayed calm. And the one thing she did that really shut me up and gave me something to think about is she said to me, well, one thing I'd like you to think about is if this were one of your family members,
Awesome.
how would you feel about them being catheterized and running the risk of an infection? And I had there was nothing else for me to say. Because when they put it on a more personal level, I think it takes some of the anger out and it makes you a little bit more human. And when you become more human, it's a lot harder to argue.
Randy, thanks very much for sharing that. The only thing I add to that phrase when I'm put in that position is a family member that you love and care about. I could not resist, but thank you for that. It's true. It's what you want for yourself, your loved ones, your family loved ones, your neighbors, because you want them to say good things about Einstein, about your unit, about your team. Thank you. So I like it when you reflect on your own performances. If you think, how was the message conveyed? How many times? If it goes beyond 2, we've talked about that. There are lots of ways to handle these pushbacks. Keep it to 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Oh, man. Was there a balance between empathy and some measure of objectivity? Those are the things. Did the person that I refer to as the messenger, the one who is just delivering the message, are they using directive or judgmental, holier than thou kind of language? Is it condescending? No matter what the pushbacks were you able to get it back on track? I heard from many of you and heard myself as I eavesdropped that you were great at pulling back the conversation to the main point of what had been observed or what you observed. Did the opening work? How did folks conclude the conversation in a way that made it seem like the message had been delivered and this was just about colleagues being colleagues? Documentation. Oh, this is something that just wears me out because we've been brought up in punitive cultures that just want to, make sure that this is documented and in your permanent file, right? Look, the lawyers talk about the 1 or 2 bite rule. You get a couple chances for a colleague to come alongside. I mean, the good news about patient relations, patient advocates reports, these sort of behavioral reports that come in through an online system, they are treated as maybe a third-party report. So can't be taken absolutely at face value until you share. And so they don't become part of a punitive record.